I've broken more stories in the bathroom than any other place on planet Earth.
Okay, that's weird.
The first story I ever broke was Deshaun Jackson in the shower.
That's a little creepy.
Scoop City is brought to you by Thursday Night Football on Prime Video. Hi, everybody. I'm the Athletic Senior NFL Insider, Diana Rossini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
It's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hey, what are your top 3 sides? Real quick,
Why
go.
does everybody always ask these questions? I barely sit down. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, and green beans.
Dude, green bean casserole, stuffing, mashed potatoes for me.
Okay, good. We're kind of on the same page.
Wow.
Looking forward to it in a few days here. This week is always so chaotic in my house. I think it's just the excitement and the thought of seeing family and the stress that comes with it, but also getting my belly ready for all the eating I'm going to be doing. It's like I'm overworking out in preparation for all the calorie intake.
I'm working out because I can eat.
I signed up for an Orange Theory class on Thanksgiving morning at 6 a.m.
Is it like the turkey trot or whatever they call
The turkey?
it?
No,
Yeah.
it probably will
Like
be
burn
something
the turkey?
corny. Yeah, but I just figured that was just good habit. So we're actually getting out of my neck of the woods to travel for Thanksgiving to be with my in-laws. So I'm
nice.
happy to get away from the Jets and the Giants right now because they are definitely the talk of the town here. They are the talk of the town at many dinner tables this week, unfortunately. So we're going to get into all of that here on the show. We're also going to get back to Scoop Court to settle some debates.
Oh,
Remember,
and I'm going to
the
put you on
judge.
scoop court finally. I had stand trial. Now I'm going to be the judge on some of these.
Okay, I know. There's a few things I'm sure you're going to want to pick on me about. And the one I'm going to want to pick on you about, I can tell you already. I'm just warning you now. The Chiefs. Are they still the best team in the league?
Okay.
State your case. I can't wait to hear it. Also, is this Kliff a real thing? That's what we're calling this, by the way. Kliff, right? Kliff Kingsbury's offense seems to just fall off a cliff. Later in the season. So is there something there? Is there some substance behind this? Are there actual stats that back this up and performance? So we're going to dive into that a little bit. And then you're going to finally make a case on that. And finally, we're going to be handing out our Week 12 Uncrustables. We've made this a thing, right? Every week we do our Uncrustables.
We need a freaking sponsorship by Uncrustables. That's all I know.
Shout out. Hopefully they're on our way.
Come
but
on.
First, let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league. All right, Chase, there are certainly tons of hot stories we want to get to, so we thought that we would break it up with this Thanksgiving theme of the week. Why not? We'll sort of just like rip through each of these teams, and the category will be set this way: baked, broiled, or burned in terms of the level of hot this story is right now. So I figured I'd start with the bad apples in New York because to me, this thing is burned and we can group them together.
Burned to a
Separate
crisp.
issues, but they're burned. Let's start with the Giants. All right. I almost want to work backwards here. And the latest that we pretty much know at this point is that the team is addressing the issue of the players in the locker room saying that they're soft. Brian Daboll saying that he's had some private conversations with some of these guys to address the problem. He said they're competitors, but I want to get your thoughts on when you hear the players basically just letting go of any protecting of the organization, of the coaches, of the GM, of anyone, and they're just letting it rip. What does that signal to you?
Well, I think it signals that they're just fed up. They're fed up of losing. They're fed up of being awful, and that's what they are. Like and it has to do with, I guarantee you, with this quarterback situation with Daniel Jones, like a lot of the people on the team, they love Daniel Jones, and his play on the field is different than probably what he wants it to be and what the organization wants it to be, because you go from a starter who's won a playoff game to a scout team safety, which is absolutely embarrassing. And I think the Giants organization was wrong for that. So I'm glad he's actually gotten released and he's out of there. Hopefully he gets picked up by another team, a contender. But when I hear the soft thing, I think it's almost like, man, a little bit of truth to it. Like, we can't win. We just got blown out at home against the Bucs, and the Bucs had lost 4 straight to that point. And then you go out there, and I like Tommy DeVito enough, but tell me it's tanking without telling me it's tanking. Like, you cut your starter, you bypass your guy you paid $5 million to in Drew Lock. You don't throw Malik Neighbors the football at all. like at all. He sounds off in the media about it. He sounds crazy, which he's not. He's competitive. Like that's how I took it. It just sounds like it's imploding a little bit there, Diana.
Could we go back to the quarterback situation there?
Yeah,
with,
let's go.
You know, we know they decided to move on from Daniel Jones. It was explained to me from both sides that everyone was on the same page. Like everyone needs to just walk away from this. This isn't working. You're not the future. And Daniel Jones, thank you for your loyalty, but we're done with you. And he's fine with that. And at the time of recording, he hasn't signed with the team, but I was told there are several teams that are interested in bringing Daniel Jones on. So we'll see if perhaps maybe the Raiders make sense, right? Because they've got injuries in their quarterback room. But we'll see where he winds up. If perhaps maybe he wants to be a little bit more patient, wait it out a little, and join a playoff team. So either way, based on conversations, I was told that it will probably happen this week. So we'll see. But the Drew Lock thing, to me, why do you think they didn't play Drew Lock? Just from looking from the outside in. You really think the New York Giants don't want to win, Chase? This is not the New York way. John Mara is not a let's go tank.
Dude, you can report that, or you not report this, but you can talk on this better than I can because you're the insider. But I've heard that Daboll is coaching for his job, correct or not, or not correct?
Nobody is ever safe, right? And despite the fact that John Mara gave his vote of confidence to Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, if this thing gets ugly, you have to wonder if ownership will go, this isn't good enough.
So
right?
he's coaching for his job. Yeah, so
he doesn't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah, 100%. So what you said, and I'll say it for our viewers, you just said he's coaching for his job without saying he's coaching for his job. I'll say he's coaching for his job, okay? Good insider talk. However, why are, like, you go out and you give him $5 million. Do they not want to pay his incentives? Are they that cheap? His incentives go to, I think, the $8 or $9 million. Like, so for me, you bring a guy in, and maybe I'm biased because it's my guy and we're buddies, but he went to Mizzou, but he's a good player. Like, he's got that swagger. Not saying Tommy DeVito. I just like doing that Baker Mayfield trolling him. I like all that stuff. I don't know. And quite honestly, I talked to the player himself, and he doesn't know. He has no idea why they passed him over. No answer was given to him whatsoever. And he's trying to be a good teammate. And I think he is, right? But everyone saw the awkward press exchange with him. Like, well, he's like trying to give an answer, but he's like, I really have no idea. And do they like Tommy DeVito that much? Like, I just think from the quarterback's perspective, if you're Drew Lock, why did I sign with the New York Giants? Because I was told that I would have a chance maybe at some point to play. And then they sit down to Daniel Jones for the injury guarantee of $23 million, and you get passed over. Like, you cannot tell me that Tommy DeVito is a better quarterback than Drew Lock.
Yeah. And so, I just feel like the whirlwind of the New York Giants news cycle over the last few days has felt worse than it has all season.
Yeah.
From the Daniel Jones situation to releasing him to going with Tommy Cutlets in hopes of looking for a spark. No spark, defense letting up all these points. All of that before I even really had dinner on Sunday. And then obviously we see on Sunday Night Football, Saquon Barkley rushing for 255 yards, which was more than the Giants' total yards.
Yeah. Say that louder. Say that again, because that's wild.
Saquon Barkley's rushing yards of 255 was more than the Giants' total yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had 245.
And he had 300, real quick, he had 302 total yards, if you include the receiving yards. That was more than 8 teams this weekend. Saquon himself.
I think you and I have had this conversation on the show before where we understood why Joe Schoen made the decision to move on from Saquon, knowing the way this roster was built. I think we were okay. We didn't like it at the time, and we obviously spoke to Saquon about it. It didn't always feel as clean and as efficient as I think we wanted it to, but we kind of were giving Joe Schoen the benefit of the doubt on it. The issue here, the bigger one that I think all of us are noticing now, was the decision the year before in choosing Daniel Jones over Saquon 100%. Barkley. Because the cat's out of the bag in terms of that. So, and look, it's easy for us to sit here at the end of November and go, this was a big miss. This was Joe Schoen's job, though, to figure this out.
You say it's easy for us to say. I could have said that when I watched Hard Knocks. You're paying a quarterback his quote was, we're paying a quarterback $40 million to go win games. We can't afford a $12 million running back. Well, guess what the top quarterbacks in the league are making more than $52 million. So why can't you have a really like amazing running back with a decent quarterback? Like, it could have helped Daniel Jones out. It could have been a completely different story, but they decided to go a different way. So I don't think it's fair to say that.
Yeah, and look at this Eagles offense. It completely runs through Saquon Barkley. This offense runs in Philadelphia through Saquon Barkley way more than Derrick Henry's. The offense in Baltimore runs through Derrick Henry.
100%.
You know, they've completely. Yeah. And we'll talk more about them coming up. So we'll see what happens with the Giants on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be a big one, in my opinion, to see how this is going to shake out.
What do you mean by that? You can't say comments like that on Scoop City and not give us a little bit of a scoop.
I agree. It just goes back to what I was saying before. I think Brian Daboll needs to end this season with these players fighting and not embarrassing the Giants, especially when they came out here saying they've got the backs of these guys.
Dallas is on a heater, though. They just beat Commanders, so you never know.
You got the New York Giants trying to sort through that, and then on the other side of town, you got the New York Jets, who just hired Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman, two former general managers. Obviously, Tannenbaum was once the general manager of the New York Jets during the Eric Mangini, Rex Ryan years. They brought him on. They brought both these guys on to essentially admit we need help. We need help identifying what this organization needs in terms of philosophy, in terms of culture, who the quarterback should be, who the head coach should be, who the GM should be. Help us. Give us your thoughts as people who have done it. And in relation to Tannenbaum, I look at it as it's probably more, oh, wow, the last time we felt really good about everything was when you were the GM. So empty your knowledge. Tell us some of the things that you did right and what we should be looking for in a candidate, which I put on you. If you're Mike Tannenbaum now and you're searching around and you're trying to give the Jets a presentation, you're going, okay, this is what the New York Jets organization needs. Bam. What are you telling the Jets?
I mean,
I feel like you need a 2-episode show for this.
We just said it last episode too. Like, first of all, you have to have a GM and a head coach super hire. Like, it can't be some old person who's washed up, has been around the block. And I say that because, like, I've heard some stuff. Like, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, some of these names being thrown out. I think personally, you have the pieces on defense, enough of the pieces, right, that you can be really successful. I would love to see them go out, hire a GM and a young offensive-minded head coach. I know what you've told me about how they're looking toward leadership, and I get that. I think that this game is changing so fast that you need an innovative play caller on offense and hire not Vic Fangio, but a Vic Fangio type on defense who have been a head coach but can be a defensive coordinator and run that entire defense, along with those two guys, a head coach and GM, working in unison, having say on the 53-man roster. Like, it seems so juvenile and so easy to do. You'd be surprised by how many people and how many teams mess it up, because a lot of times that's not the case. It seems easy, but you have to actually go out there. You have to actually hire the right people for the job. And then Woody Johnson has to be completely hands off and let the football people do the football people's job.
Yeah, so the Jets are coming off a bye, right? So Aaron Rodgers is all banged up. He's dealing with all sorts of injury. So this organization is going to have to make a decision. Do we place him on IR? Does he just continue out the year?
What injuries does he have? IR?
He's been battling a lot all season. People in the building have told me that for a while, that he's been.
Doesn't that seem to me? Doesn't that seem to you that that's quitting on your team? Like, this didn't go good enough for us. I'm just going to go on IR. Like that. That's, I mean,
you could argue the Jets like were quitting on him too. The Jets quit on him too.
The Jets gave him everything. They wanted to bench him. That doesn't mean they quit on him. They give him everything he wanted. This just seems, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone. It seems like he's quitting on him if he goes on IR.
If the New York Jets were going to bench him after that Denver Broncos game, that to me is the definition of quitting your future Hall of Fame quarterback. Like that,
but they didn't. But they didn't.
No, they didn't. They didn't, because of the former head coach and the former GM convinced the owner, look, that's probably not the move. We don't need to be. They didn't even know if he was being serious. But
I think it's quitting.
I do think the New York Jets are going to probably have to make a decision here over the next few weeks. Do you roll out Aaron knowing this isn't going to be great? He probably doesn't want to keep getting beat up. You have that. Do you place him in IR? Do you just cut him overall? There's some people around the league who believe just cut him. Just move on.
Since when do we cut starting quarterbacks in the middle of the year? I guess end of the year. That's wild. What?
We're talking about the Jets. Like
what is happening? This is absurd. I don't think you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. That's how absurd they sound. And you seem like they seem normal because you're so used to it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not. I'm like, this is crazy.
Have I turned into the Jets?
I don't know. You're just like so immune.
Conforming?
You're like so immune to like these like. That's what you just
said. The ridiculousness. I know. We start the whole show off talking about the two New York teams here, and I'm like, what's the big? It's maybe you're right. Maybe I should have had more of a response when people started to talk about that. Of like, oh yeah, cutting. I don't think Aaron Rodgers would be shocked if Aaron Rodgers was cut. Like that's where this is at.
Yeah,
the owner is done with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is done with the owner. This is not working anymore. This thing is headed to a divorce. They're going to try to figure this out over the next few weeks, maybe for PR reasons, so everyone comes out here looking like they're the good guy. But in the end, this didn't work.
Did they have a
experiment's
prenup?
Over.
I don't think they had a prenup.
I don't think
Aaron
they had
Rodgers
a prenup.
took them for all they were worth.
He did. So then what team is in a worse position here? You got the Giants and the Jets. Slim pickings here, but... I mean, let's just say you're a Ben Johnson, you're a Mike Vrabel. Like you want another opportunity. If these jobs were to be open,
I'm staying away from them both.
You're just,
no, 100%. I'm staying away from them.
For similar reasons at the quarterback position, no answers at either, right?
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, ownership in Florham Park is probably a little tougher to deal with than it is.
Give me Giants, maybe.
In East Rutherford, yeah, but yeah.
You said, yeah. You don't want them either. That's so true. It's like I don't want any of them.
I think it's hard. It's sometimes when you're close to this stuff in terms of like actual location, you feel like you start to feel bad. It just gets. I feel so bad for Jets fans too. You know, so many times when we're putting out stories about their team, and you know, you read my column every Saturday. I think fans think I enjoy it. It's painful. It's emotional for me. I feel bad for these people. I feel bad for the people that show up every single home game, like the people on my street who make it a big family event to go tailgating and enjoy their favorite team. And this is what they're dealing with. Mike Tannenbaum advising the Jets on what's next. Like, that's what this is.
It's like you can't write a script better than that.
I know. Kaylin Collar, our former colleague here, she's over at ESPN now. She does a great job. She had a tweet that I wanted to read, and just because it made me laugh, right? So Mike Tannenbaum runs the 33rd team, which is a great website.
Yeah,
obviously 33rd team, as in they're like.
Yeah, I worked with them for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you were on that show, right? Yeah. So it's like the idea of the 33rd team is what? It's like the other.
It's the other. It's like they try to build it all players and all former executives, and that's the medium, the 33rd team.
Yeah, that's the idea. Like they're the other team in the league, right? So Keelan tweets, so an NFL team, that being the Jets, hired a fake NFL team, that being the 33rd team, to help with its next GM search. And that fake NFL team had already published on their website recently a list of suggested candidates for that real NFL team.
God, no, they didn't.
The NFL scriptwriters could not write something better than that.
Yep,
and
see?
She's right.
That's hilarious.
It's just,
actually. That's really funny.
It's just, so we'll see how this goes the next few weeks. I still think there's going to be a lot more fireworks from both teams. So buckle up, New York. Speaking of the 49ers, all right, let's just start with the heat check on this one in terms of the oven we're using on Thanksgiving. Where do you put them at for you? Where do you land at?
I mean, broil? It's like really hot, maybe. But not super burnt yet because they're only one game behind the third seed in the NFC, which I just looked up today, which is wild. They're one game behind the third seed. Broil.
Yeah, look, the theme of the week the theme of the season with them has been weird vibes. We talk about it all the time on the show because they're not winning those games or getting away with those things we've seen them get away with in the past. And I'm starting to watch this, and Kyle, to me, in terms of his head coaching ability, his play calling ability, and his respect that he gets from that locker room, my biggest worry right now, as I'm looking at this thing as a whole, is he is really good when he's got a lot of talent on his team, when they're healthy. I'm not so sure when he doesn't have all the studs and all the stars aligned. It's what gives me this hesitation with this team, because you look at what they've been through this year and the injuries they've dealt with, and when he's got his dogs in there, there's nobody better out there. But it's finding ways to win with less that has become the biggest challenge for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep. Yeah, and look, I'm not questioning Kyle Shanahan. I don't think that's the issue here. You look at every major statistical category in offense without all their guys, and they're top 5 in every single major category. So offensively, they're doing it. Defensively, I think they're a 20th ranked total defense. I do need to give him some, like, why'd you do this when he hired Nick Sorensen? I think that was a bigger issue. He's got no pushback from that. And they're just not the same defense. Steve Wilks, he went out and fired Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks is on the street right now. Steve Wilks had a top 5 defense last year. And when you do that, and then you're riddled with injuries, I think any team, Diana, would be that way, though, with injuries. I think that if you don't have your guys, you're going to suffer. And they've lost like 3 games, I think, in the fourth quarter when their defense has given up drives. So, look, I get it. Like, it seems from the outside that Kyle Shanahan doesn't have his fastball. But if you just zoom out 40,000 foot, right, and you look down on the 49ers season, it's disappointing. I would almost argue that if somehow they were to get into the playoffs, this might be his best coaching job because of all the injuries that he's had. That's how I would argue it. So I think it's just you view it from 2 different lenses, and that's fine. But I don't think this season hasn't changed my mindset, if that makes sense, on Kyle Shanahan.
I understand that. I think my bigger picture concern for the 49ers, even just moving forward here, is their roster. That they're older. They're old. They're beaten down, right? They've got the 3rd oldest team in the league. I think the average is like 27 years old, which it's just so funny to think that's old. That's old. Correct. So the roster looks old. They look beaten down, and then they've got to pay Brock Purdy still, right? So you've got a lot of doors that they've got to push through here in order for them to get back on track to be the San Francisco 49ers team of old that we've seen almost every single year. And they've played a lot of football. Like, that's another thing you have to keep in mind. This is a team that's going deep into the playoffs every single year. So I'm not like boiling hot on them. I'm with you. I'm broiling. For their sake, I just want to see them fall into some easy wins. Almost the way Patrick Mahomes said yesterday after the game, we got to start blowing some teams out. Like, that's how I feel about San Francisco. They need to start blowing some teams out, make a statement, bad vibes behind them, good vibes ahead.
Quick question for you on one of their star players, Deebo Samuel. Not having a great year. I think he has 1 total touchdown, doesn't have a lot of receiving yards, sort of one of those guys that does it all. Is there any way, that he could be there next year with them having to pay Brock Purdy and then already paying Brandon Ayuk the amount of money there is? I just don't think there's any way.
No, I think they figure out a way.
Whoa.
No, I think they figure out a way.
To what?
To pay Brock Purdy and keep Brandon Ayuk on the roster.
No, not Ayuk.
Is that what your question is? Oh, Deebo. Well, look, that's like a whole nother segment.
Yeah, that's why I asked you.
Well, Deebo's been on the trade block every time there's been opportunity to trade him, whether it was the draft, whether it was early on in the season in regards to Brandon Ayuk. I think the Deebo Samuel story is definitely going to be one this all season we're going to be chasing.
All right, sweet.
So I'm with you. So I guess in regard to your question, you're correct. I do think they're going to have to figure out something.
All right.
Okay, so we're broiling with them. The team that we think is baking something delicious, baking something
real good,
are the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Now, look, for those that listen to us, we know,
on the bandwagon from day one.
We see it on the comments section. People talk about us on other podcasts about our support for the Denver Broncos.
They do? Who talks about us on other podcasts?
Oh, Todd McShay,
What do you
Russillo
say?
Show, Bill
Okay.
Simmons.
All
They've all
right,
talked
all
about
right,
us.
all right.
What's up, guys? We love you.
What's up?
But they understood that we were on this hype train pretty early because we were doing the work on the ground and we were having the conversations. You were in the quarterback room. We got to actually give a real account of what the heck was going on. And with your experience with Sean Payton all these years, you were just applying what your knowledge was of that and experience. And we are where we are. But this isn't about us. This is about what Bo Nix has done.
Yeah. Wow.
What is the most impressive thing? Just you don't need to even give me your specifics because I know you're tremendous at the tape of him.
Yeah.
But what's the thing right now at this point in the year that you're going, holy crap?
Yeah. I mean, literally before you got on this podcast, I watched the All 22 again of Bo Nix. And to keep it as clear as possible, I think the growth that he has shown since September in his first 4 starts has been astronomical. And when I say that, I think he threw 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions in the month of September. And he's thrown 16 touchdowns and 2 picks since. And so as Bo Nix goes and that defense goes, this becomes a scary team for me. And we saw him on the ground. I saw him up close and personal in the quarterback room in training camp. And there was something about him that just screamed, this guy's going to be really good. Maybe it was because of how smart he was as a rookie, right? NCAA record holder for most starts in a career. I think it's like 62 or something. And we interviewed Sean Payton there and he said, hey, it was a 16th throw. So there's something about this guy and just how comfortable he's gotten, I think is a big thing for me.
So I know you saw I wrote about it over the weekend about, most of the focus of what we were digging into was Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. But I was thinking about that game after the Jets decided to have this conversation about potentially benching Aaron. And I was thinking, I wonder what happened to Denver after that game. Because remember how bad they were?
Yeah.
Bo threw for 60
10 points.
yards.
Yeah, 62
It was
yards.
so, I remember wondering
Rain-soaked.
if they were going to maybe sit him down and just let him catch his breath a little bit, like we saw Carolina do with Bryce Young. Obviously, you know
really
Sean's
thought that?
style. I was uncertain. Put it this way.
Okay.
I made calls that night. I remember making calls
my
to check on it. Like,
All
what's
right.
going on?
Look at you.
And I got the typical crap I always get from Denver, which is A, go away. But B, bo, right? And that's really been the philosophy in that room. Or, excuse me, and I say room, I mean like the meeting room and in the locker room and on that field is everyone is being asked to do more to help Bo. Because everyone knows he's the rookie and their success really is on the shoulders of him as a team collectively. And you're watching these guys really buy into everything that they're doing there. And I think that's really what's been so impressive about really what Peyton has done there as a coach. They are bought into what he is selling them, and he's selling them wins. He's selling them how to get it done.
Vegas had them nabbed, I think, at 5.5 wins. Okay, they've already got 7. Is there a chance that if Denver gets to, say, 10 wins, and they got a tough schedule, they're playing some good teams coming up, that Sean Payton Coach of the Year?
I threw it out there. People came from my head. Twitter's been extra spicy.
Yeah,
lately.
I actually agree. I actually agree with that. Why?
think I started this podcast saying to you once, why does everyone complain about Twitter? People are so nice to me. Like, literally, all the comments I used to get were, you are this, and thank you, and we appreciate your coverage, and keep them coming. Now it's like, go get hit by a train, and I hope your guts
like
fall over the
violent.
railroad. People are so mean. I get a lot.
You know what, though? It's okay. It's just a lot of bots. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't like when the comments make me go, ooh, they're kind of right. Like if it's something like, when something personal.
Don't you listen to one person
I know. I need to start
Twitter.
ignoring.
What are you doing?
I need
Do
to
not
start ignoring.
do that.
According to the Athletics NFL playoff predictor model, Denver was tied with Washington for the worst chance to make the playoffs at the start of the year at 7%. Now they're up to 60% after beating the Raiders.
If you look at the seedings, Diana, right? Like they're 7 right now, but the next person in the hunt, the A seed, they're 2 games ahead of them. which is wild to me. So they sort of control their own destiny here.
And they're also fun to watch because I like the idea of just starting from scratch in a way. The fact that their defense is winning. And even Courtland Sutton.
He's balling in the last 6 games.
This is a player who was on the trade block at one point, meaning teams are calling to try to trade for him. Remember the Niners called the Denver Broncos when they were thinking about possibly moving Brandon Ayuk, and the Broncos were like, yeah, no, we're not doing that because we have this rookie quarterback who needs Courtland Sutton. And now these two have this bond. Courtland Sutton winning in Vegas for the first time in his career.
Really?
Against the Raiders.
You know what's crazy is I bet you cannot name me one other skill player for the Denver Broncos or 2 others. And that's like the testament to like what Sean Payton and Bo Nix are doing, right? Like you can't like if the normal person, the average person can like, they don't have superstars on that side of the football. And that's what makes this even more special.
Troy Franklin.
You just looked it up.
Okay. No, I didn't.
Okay, the rookie from Oregon. Yeah, I know. What about Mims Jr., Trout? You just looked it up.
Oh, I was going to show you my text.
You literally just showed me that you were Googling.
All right. When we get back, I am taking Chase back to court. Hear what we're arguing in Scoop City. Do you think I would have made a good lawyer, by the way?
Absolutely not.
Really?
You talk too much.
I always thought I should have done that. Oh, no. I can close a case. We'll be right back. All right, Chase, we're back in court today. It's my favorite thing to do here because I'm the judge. I'm the ruler of all. So for those who have not listened.
You're not a judge without a
Oh,
gavel.
I forgot my whip thing.
We ain't in court. We ain't in real court then. That's for dang sure.
What a fail by me. Well, it's being used to cook right now. That's why. Getting ready for Thanksgiving. For those of you who have not listened, this is how this works here. I'm going to read a statement, and Chase, you're going to have to make the case. I will either uphold the ruling or dismiss it. And again, just a reminder, here in Scoop City, I am the law. Dun, dun, dun.
What?
That was like Law and Order. You know, like do you watch Law and Order?
I know exactly what that was.
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, the first case we are addressing here in court. The Chiefs, are they still a top team in the league despite recent struggles?
You're talking about the 2-point win, although they should have lost against the Broncos. You're talking about the loss against the Bills.
They squeaked past the Panthers 30-27.
And they barely beat the Panthers.
5th walk-off win of the season.
Which is fine. They've had 8 one-possession games, too. The Chiefs are guys, what are we talking about here? The Chiefs are absolutely still the top team in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes and co just find ways to win. He's almost got that Tom Brady feeling, right? Where he just goes out there in the 2-minute drive, just ho-hum, goes them down. They don't even have Harrison Butker, drives them down for the win. I get that they are finding new ways to win every day. And I love, though, I saw some stuff on film, specifically from Justin Watson on that scramble. It's the type of play that sort of is the epitome of what it means to be a Chief. He's running a route down the field. He runs back once Mahomes gets out of pocket. He gets one block and then decides to go get another, which sprung Patrick Mahomes up. It's these I don't want to say that. It's these role player guys that really make the difference in this run because they're such well coached. Now, I will say that their defense is a little bit concerning. I will give them that, but they still are the top team. They're their top team in the league. The Chiefs' defense, weeks 1 through 10, were allowing 17 points per game. The last 2 weeks, 28.5 points per game. The last 2 weeks, they've allowed 350 yards per game. They are not the same defense the last 2 weeks. They figured that out, though. Top team in the league.
I just hope that this team is learning from their wins because they're going to have to learn from their losses if this continues. You know what I'm saying? If they're not taking away enough about what they're doing, what they're not doing right off these wins, then they're going to wind up, this is going to catch up to them. Because I feel like every week, it's like, whoop, they skid by, whoop, they skid by, whoop, they skid by. But at some point, it catches you. It always does. So Patrick Mahomes'
But it doesn't catch the Chiefs, Diana.
I don't think that the Chiefs are immune to that bug that will bite you in the booty if you're not going out there and getting better and fixing the problems that are you. And the Chiefs have a me problem
What were you saying about
them.
Patrick Mahomes' face? Sorry, I interrupted
Patrick
you. I don't want
Mahomes,
people to think I interrupt you.
oh yeah, you're just, we read like our
we
one
read all the
comments.
comments. Don't worry.
We do. Thank you. Please comment
Yes.
more. We love when you guys talk to us because we read them.
Mahomes' face were what?
So Evan Washburn was interviewing Patrick Mahomes after the game, and I've watched 9 million post-game interviews with Patrick Mahomes. He is always a professional, and he always brings you a certain amount of energy to that interview. And he did so with Evan, but he looked like he lost the game. Like his whole vibe was like, this was not good. He did not want to do that interview. He wanted to get out of there. And then Nate Taylor, our Kansas City Chiefs beat reporter, wrote a great article post-game about how quiet it was in that locker room. That is a wild locker room, let me tell you. They are, I mean, does that surprise you? No, right? Like you got Chris Jones, you got Travis Kelce, you got Patrick. They're crazy when they're in there. So the fact that they were quiet in a winning locker room just tells you they're closer to my argument on this than I think yours.
But
you're going on. So since I am the ruler
You don't have
of all,
a gavel.
right? The Chiefs still the top team in the league despite recent struggles.
Me.
Dismissed. I don't believe in them until they fix this.
Dismissed.
I don't. Your argument is over. Your argument's like I don't agree with your argument.
Then who is, Diana? Who is? Who's the top team then?
In all right now, the Detroit Lions. Detroit. Wouldn't you take the Detroit Lions right now?
Next subject.
All right. So our next argument is the Kliff is real in regards to Commanders offensive coordinator Kliff Kingsbury. He appears to lose a little steam as he gets to the second half of the season. The Athletic Football Show, they did a really good job of explaining what this means last week before their game this weekend. Take a listen to them explaining it.
Considering he was asked about it during his press conference today, it does seem like the Washington media is also on this. Are we at the cliff? Which is what I'm calling the point in the season where the Kliff Kingsbury offense starts to fall down the side of a mountain a little bit. That's happened consistently when he was in Arizona. They used to have these hot starts. Really, 2020 is the year that I would point to, where they were like a top 7-ish offense for the first half of the year. And in the back half of the year, the wheels kind of fell off. Sort of happened in 2019 too. I'm not willing to say that we're there yet. I'm not willing to say that what we've seen from Washington's offense the last couple of weeks is a product of teams figuring out what Kliff Kingsbury wants to do in the same way that they might have in previous years. I think the answer for why they've looked the way they have over the last couple games is a little bit more nuanced than that. And there's some more things at play than simply, well, teams just figure out whatever Kliff is doing halfway through the year. And we can get into some of the specifics there, but I'm not quite ready to say that we are at the cliff in the 2024 season.
I don't think Washington's fall off is nuanced at all. I think the quarterback is hurt and they're trying to tell us he's not hurt. I think that's it.
All right, that is Robert Mays and Derek Klassen, who just did a really good job of explaining that on the Athletic Football Show. So, Chase, you've watched the film from Jaden Daniels and this Commanders offense. Is the Kliff a real thing in your opinion?
You know, I see both sides, but I think at a point we're overanalyzing it. I do think that the rib injury sustained by Jaden Daniels plays a huge factor into their not success, but their failures as of late. And when I watch the film, one, I'm not seeing Jaden Daniels run as much anymore. You look at the first 2 or 3 games of the season, he was running a lot. I think that opened up. I think teams were able to play them differently. And then I also look at so when you look at ribs, right, it's a really tricky thing because Justin Herbert had it when I played with him with the Chargers, and it was completely it hurt him a lot more than people thought, and it really wasn't talked about because it's like, oh, he has ribs, it'll be fine in 2 or 3 weeks. He was still getting shots later in the year, and I don't know what's going on in Jaden Daniels, but from an accuracy standpoint, one, you really feel as a thrower you can't get your rotational like body going toward the throw, and as a thrower, as a rotational like athlete, right? Because we're rotating as we throw. Any type of movement to that rib can hurt tremendously. I mean, look, he's averaging, so he hurt his rib injury in week 7. Before that, he was completing 75% of his passes in weeks 1 through 6. Okay, last 4 weeks, last 5 weeks, they're 2-3. He's completing 59% of his passes. He's throwing for about the same passing yards per game. 4 touchdowns, though, 1 interception. The rating has dropped. Rush attempts have dropped. 0 rushing touchdowns, which I think is the biggest thing. So I do get, like, I remember, you know, when he was saying the 2020 Arizona, I mean, they were a top like 6 or 7 offense. That was insane. I don't think they're at this point right here, because when I also watched this offense, it's a different offense than Kliff has been running. It's got a lot of LSU concepts from what Jaden Daniels did, but I really think it's the rib injury, and they're just making it not a big deal. But I'm here to make it a big deal.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that LSU concept thing, because that was something we were talking about earlier in the season as a knock against them. Remember? It was like, oh, look at this college offense. Well, guess what? The college offense and giving Jaden what he wants and what he can succeed at works well. As we're seeing now, of course, across town in Chicago, across the country, excuse me, where Caleb Williams is, granted they're not winning, but he looks incredible.
Yeah, truly.
Considering where we
games.
were just a month ago. I'm so fired up for the Chicago Bears for that reason. But the Kliff is a real thing. I am going to dismiss it for now.
Come on, you're a tough judge. You know what? Fine. I get to be the judge now. Hey, Diana, you are on the stand, and Chase is the judge. And I'm not an easy judge. You better make a good case. All right. Are the Texans still a legitimate Super Bowl contender? Because you said they were with your chest. You were like, this is my pick, da-da-da-da-da, like you always do in your Jersey accent, whatever. Are they real Super Bowl contenders still?
Why? Because they just lost to the Tennessee Titans of all teams,
That would be
32 to 27, right? They have the Jags coming up. We'll see what's going on with that team.
Yeah.
They've got the Dolphins, who are surging right now. Their defense getting so much better. Anthony Weaver, the coordinator there, just doing a killer job with that team. And obviously the Miami Dolphins are a really good one too, is there. I think it's plain and simple. He's just done an incredible job since he's been back. And then they've got your Chiefs. So based on the schedule, it's very hard to make an argument, but I am a good attorney. And look, I think this is a team that the biggest challenge they're having right now are the Houston Texans. I don't think this is about anyone else. I think they can compete with any team. I think this team is making a lot of mistakes and kind of playing off a lot of the buzz from last year versus figuring out who they want to be this year and identifying that. A little bit the way we've been talking about some other teams of kind of like the San Francisco 49ers. All right, this hasn't been great. You haven't beat anybody by a lot of points yet. The Houston Texans have yet to put a game together this season, besides maybe their win in New England, where I went, oh yeah, that's the team we're talking about. That's it. So maybe this is a point where, look, Tom Brady said it best, right? You know exactly what you are by the time Thanksgiving gets here. So they know what they are. It ain't good enough. So I think now this is where the type of coaching and the leadership from a D'Amico Ryans needs to come out and be loud and tall and everything that comes with trying to turn this team around. And with a quarterback like CJ Stroud, with his ability, I still have belief that this team can make a run. It's not that bad. It's just they need to figure out who they want to be.
Says everyone in the building. Yeah, that is dismissed. The sophomore slump is officially here for CJ Stroud.
All right, when we get back, Uncrustables, our favorite news segment where we hand out the league's favorite little lunch snack, basically our top moments, and also we take away some Uncrustables because some things are really pissing us off. We'll talk about it next. All right, it's that time of the week where we dish out Uncrustables for things we thought were cool and take away things that we thought were very uncool, and there's a lot to celebrate. I wish I could hand out Uncrustables for my Thanksgiving dinner instead of having to cook, but can't do that. So, since I'll be spending time with my Philadelphia family on Thanksgiving, I've got to start with the Eagles. Jeff Stoutland, the offensive line coach in Philly. He's in charge of the run game there for their offense, as you know, Chase. And just a remarkable job. I love Saquon right after his ridiculous game on Sunday Night Football. Immediately thanks his guys. Immediately goes offensive line. How incredible are they? So what Stoutland has been able to do without Jason Kelce, like that's the factor that we have to weigh into this. And just the fact that he's done a really good job of getting the most out of these guys, even former Jet Mekhi Becton.
Yeah,
I mean,
playing
he
well.
was written off the island in New York. And he's become a contributor. So you get a big Uncrustable, although I've been around Statland. I don't think he wants a sandwich from me. I think he wants a big-ass turkey. So I'll try to find a way to get him a turkey. So there you go.
That's great. All right, I got Bryce Young sort of back on the scene right here. I'm giving him a strawberry Uncrustable. Almost upset the Chiefs. He's played really well since he got back from his benching. And honestly, I was thinking about this. I don't think any player in the league has done more and the benching has meant more to him than Bryce Young. Because not only is he playing well this year, he's given the franchise a little bit of hope. Like, hey, we saw that #1 pick in you. We don't need to trade you this offseason. I think it was a good reset for him. He got to see Andy Dalton. He's playing much more freer than I've seen him in a really long time. He's out there, he's laughing, he's dancing, he's having a good time. Sort of got his fun back to him. So yeah, you get an Uncrustable for me, man.
Oh, it's awesome. And especially, I love the fact that the Panthers gave the Chiefs a run, because on this show last week, I'm giving myself an Uncrustable. I told you this would happen. The Chiefs coming off a bye week, coming off losing for the first time this year, all of this going up against an opponent that they didn't think would really bring some game. And guess what? Just like Andy Reid told us in the summer, every team brings their best when they play the Chiefs. And that's what the Chiefs got. So I'm giving myself my own sandwich. All right, you're up.
You gave yourself your own
I did. I'm hungry, A. And B, I gave myself one.
I'm driving to work this morning like I do almost every morning. And right outside Fox Studios, there was a car that was driving a little crazy. You know, so I'm like, oh, like, what does this guy do? It's like 4:55 in the morning. I'm like, what in the world? I get up closer to it. We're at a stoplight. It's got cameras everywhere on the outside. I was like, oh, it's a Google car. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, drive up, and then it's got this, and it's got the big, like, huge knob that spins on the top, all that stuff, you know. And I'm like, what in the world? And I get right next to it, and I look in, and there's no one in there, and I go, wait, what do you mean? So I go, and it just, like, at the light, it like floors itself. Anyway, I Googled, it's called Waymo. And you can have self-driving cars take you places. Like, you can order a Waymo to the airport from Fox, and it'll take you to the airport, and there is not a human driver sitting in the seat. There's no one in the car. Like, nothing. You get in the back, and it just drives yourself. So this car is driving crazy on these side roads. I get up to it. Sure enough, there's no, I'm like, I've started freaking. I'm like, no way. So I am taking an Uncrustable, maybe 10 Uncrustables away from you, Waymo.
I am taking that ride to the airport. First of all,
you're crazy.
Nobody driving, nobody in the car means that it's not my husband driving, and I would rather nobody drive than my husband driving, because he's a terrible driver. So I feel safer with nobody. But also, I'm that person on my Uber preferences. I put no talking, please. So the silence and privacy, I live for that. That sounds like my dream.
Not very good stars.
First of all, I had a higher rating than you. Let's not go back in history and rewrite it. I did not forget. I forget a lot. We all know that here, Mom Brain. But I did not forget that my stars were higher than yours. But that is wild, man.
I was freaking out a little bit.
We're going to be talking about this over the dinner table or at the dinner table tonight. Yeah. That is crazy. Okay, so my Uncrustable, I'm going to give to a friend of the show and a friend of mine, to Chris Long. Okay, so when I was pregnant with Mikey, I asked Chris for advice about being a parent because I was in collection mode. Like, just help me figure this out and sort this out. And he said, look, you're not going to have to worry about this for a while, but I'm going to give you a piece of advice, and one day it'll come up. And I remember when he said it, I was like, I completely tuned him out because I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need this now. I'm going to have a newborn. He told me that my child is going to get to a point where they're going to learn how to crawl out of their beds. Oh, yeah. And you're going to have to figure out a way to manage that. And if you get this alarm clock with a little traffic light on it, red light, yellow light, green light, and you set the alarm and you teach them, you don't get out of your crib until there's a green light. And I bought this thing 2 years ago thinking, all right, maybe one day I will need it. Well, guess who needs it now? Me. So this weekend, we had our first red light, green light. which is funny because Chris Long's podcast is called Green Light.
Green light.
And this morning, Michael, 6:15, comes in my room. Mommy, I waited for the green light and I came down. I was like, this is amazing.
Wow.
Instead of 4:30, instead of
him.
5. So a big Uncrustable to Chris Long for just tremendous advice, knowing that I was going to have to deal with this. And now I like to think my problems are solved.
Yeah, well, for one day they are. All right, last one for me. I'm going to give an Uncrustable to Noah Gray, Chiefs tight end. 4 touchdown catches in the last 2 games. Looking more like he's becoming, I don't want to say it, but he's becoming the number 1 option at tight end for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Travis Kelce still had 60-something yards receiving, but 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games for him gets him an Uncrustable.
Okay. My final Uncrustable is going to go to aggregators. Okay.
Wait, you're taking them away, or are you giving them one?
I am taking them all away. I've had a few, right? So the headline this weekend was, Diana Rossini reports the Jets are shutting down Aaron Rodgers, or the Jets are going to cut him. The Jets are going to place him on IR. It was more, here are the options. Here's what's being discussed. Here's what's going on. The team was meeting to figure this all out. And then in regard to the Jets too, there was some chatter because Rex Ryan has been pretty openly campaigning strongly that he wants the job, right? So this is a guy, I give him credit. I mean, he knows where all the bodies are buried and he still wants to go back. And I thought that if the Jets were going to retread, if they were going to go down that path, then they should go with Eric Mangini. Well, the headline on Fox today, Eric Mangini, Jets candidate for a head coach. It gets out of control right now on social media. People are reading articles and just reading it the way they want to take it instead of reflecting the reporting. And it's really hard when credibility is your currency and your life. But I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think it's just going to get worse, actually.
At least give us credit and like put the link to the article that you wrote so people can actually read it for themselves. That's all I want.
Oh, that's true. That's a good way around it of like, hey, misrepresent me here and say something stupid that I didn't report.
But actually read.
But here, check out my article. And then your takeaway should be, what? So we'll see what happens there with the Jets and what they decide to do. And hopefully we see Aaron Rodgers finish out the season. All right, that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We will see you guys on Thanksgiving and the day after. Hold on, let's start again. The day after, right? All right, that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We will be with you. I'm sorry. Oh, fabulous. Thank you.
Wow, Marissa, pat yourself on your back.
No, she crushed today. You deserve it. All right. All right, that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Our second episode this week, it's going to be dropping on Thanksgiving morning. If you need something to listen to while you're prepping the turkey, or you're one of those crazy people that do a turkey trot, good for you. Get out there. We've got you covered.
Nice,
hopefully people at
Marissa,
Orange
nice.
Theory will be listening to it. I know you guys are just mocking me. I got to stay motivated somehow.
Orange
I got to get moving.
Theory. I
My
like
hips
it,
get
though.
locked in when I sit all day. So that'll do it for us, guys. We will see you on Thanksgiving.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.